All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly fascinating management consulting report put together by the AI research firm Disruptivity. They've crafted this comprehensive strategic roadmap for Figure AI, which, if you follow the space, you know is a company at the absolute bleeding edge of robotics. We're going to look really closely at the future scenarios Disruptivity has mapped out for Figure's market and the exact strategic pivot they need to pull off to not just survive, but totally dominate. Okay, let's dive into this. $39 billion. I mean, that is a staggering valuation that just forces you to pay attention, doesn't it? It perfectly highlights the massive hype and the absolute sheer scale of capital currently flooding into the development of general-purpose humanoid robots. The market is basically betting the house that this technology is going to fundamentally change the global labor economy. But, what exactly are they building to justify that kind of price tag? While Figure's core mission is to create human-sized, fully electric robots, we're not talking about those specialized single-purpose machines bolted to a factory floor. Instead, they're developing commercially viable autonomous humanoids that are specifically designed to handle physically demanding, repetitive work right inside the environments that were already built for us, built for people. So, to understand how they actually pull this off, here's our roadmap for today. 1. Strategic inflection point. 2. The hardware as a service pivot. 3. Simulation-first training. 4. A 3-phased roadmap. And 5. Future-proofing your business. Let's start right off with Section 1, Figure's strategic inflection point. Right now, Figure is making that critical move out of the R&D laboratory and into the really high-stakes phase of commercial deployment. A prime example of this is their industrial beachhead at BMW's Spartanburg plant. And look, this isn't just some fun little pilot program, it's an absolutely vital step. Deploying robots here serves as a critical proof point. It proves the technology can generate actual revenue, and honestly, more importantly, it starts generating the real-world operational data that Figure desperately needs to train its AI systems. So the crucial point is, there's kind of a bait and switch happening in the robotics industry right now. As the Disruptivity report clearly warns, the future scenarios indicate that the market will not sustain a pure hardware play. What that means is, despite the incredible engineering, just selling a physical robot is absolutely not going to keep Figure alive in the long run. Which brings us to Section 2, the hardware as a service pivot. This pivot outlines a fundamental shift in how enterprise robotics actually has to be monetized. It requires a massive business model change. I mean, just look at the math side by side here. The old model is a CapEx, or capital expenditure, direct sales approach. You sell a robot for, say, $130,000. But the new model, it has to be OpEx, an operating expense subscription. Customers just don't want to buy expensive, depreciating hardware anymore. They want to buy guaranteed outcomes. They want automated labor treated as a highly reliable utility with guaranteed uptime. Shifting to this robotics as a service, or RaaS model, requires a huge internal transformation for Figure. It's way more than just a billing change. They literally have to build entirely new operational muscles, transitioning to fleet operations, building out customer success portals, ensuring automated SLA or service level agreement compliance, and developing predictive maintenance algorithms. They basically have to evolve from a hardware manufacturer into a recurring, high-margin, software-centric service provider. Okay, moving on to Section 3, the simulation-first training paradigm. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it addresses Figure's biggest technological bottleneck, training the AI fast enough. Getting physical data collection on a real factory floor is just way too slow and way too expensive. So the solution? Digital twins. If you aren't familiar, think of these as hyper-realistic video games, just, without the boss battles. They're exact 3D virtual replicas of physical workspaces. Inside these computer-generated environments, the AI can practice millions of edge cases and task variations safely and incredibly fast, without ever touching a real factory floor. And here's how this builds into a continuous learning loop. Step 1, a partner like BMW helps build a digital twin using platforms like NVIDIA Omniverse. Step 2, the AI trains on billions of scenarios virtually 24/7. And Step 3, those learnings are sent as over-the-air updates directly back to the physical robots. This brilliant little loop transforms the AI development lifecycle from taking months down to mere days. This shift from physical data collection to simulation-first training is honestly a total paradigm shift. An AI placed in a digital twin can experience decades of trial and error in a single afternoon. That compounding data flywheel, that is Figure's ultimate competitive moat.
It's exactly what will allow them to expand their market scope, from niche-specific industrial uses to a really ubiquitous, highly adaptable global presence. Let's look at Section 4, a three-phased strategic roadmap. To actually execute all of this, Disruptivity lays out a very strict chronological evolution, because you can't just jump straight to having robots cooking dinner in your kitchen, right? Years 1 to 3 represent Phase 1, the industrial beachhead, that's focusing purely on mastering logistics and manufacturing. Then, years 3 to 5 are Phase 2, platformization, where they really scale their AI operating system. And only beyond that do we hit Phase 3, dominate and diversify. That's where they leverage their massive industrial scale to finally enter commercial properties and eventually people's homes.
And this brilliantly illustrates why that strategic discipline is absolutely paramount. By focusing entirely on winning the industrial beachhead first, Figure prevents what Disruptivity calls the vision trap. That's the fatal mistake of chasing the consumer market way too early, long before the unit economics make sense or, before the robot stops tripping over the family dog.
Finally, let's wrap up with Section 5, future-proofing your own business. So, we've been looking at a $39 billion giant, but how do these lessons apply to us? Well, the answer lies in adapting to structural industry changes. By applying Disruptivity's simulation-first strategies to test your own business models, and by really guiding those operating expense transformations, just like Figure's pivot to robotics as a service, their proprietary tools and strategic roadmaps can help literally any business owner future-proof their enterprise against complex technological disruptions.
So, I'm going to leave you with this one question to think about. As AI, robotics, and automation reshape every single industry over the next decade, how will your business survive the simulated future? Leveraging tools like Disruptivity's management consulting as a service might just be the exact blueprint you need to future-proof your own enterprise. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.